Beautiful ones. If Saturn, right here, here's the symbol for Saturn, sits in your third house right here, and it can be anywhere in this house, you already know what it's like to swallow your words, to feel truth building pressure behind your teeth, but staying quiet because speaking felt unsafe or useless or too much. Maybe you were the listener, the observer, the one who learned early that silence kept the peace. But what if your silence wasn't punishment? What if it was Saturn's training ground, teaching you to make every word count? Hmm? Welcome, beautiful ones. I'm Cindi, astrologer, mystic, and your guide through the stars. Here on Simply Cindi, we walk the path of remembrance together through astrology, tarot, hypnosis, and the wisdom of the earth. This is Saturn Through the Houses, the astrology of your becoming. Now, last time we explored the second house, the lessons of worth and survival. Today, in episode 4, we step into the third house, the realm of the mind, communication, and voice. Here, Saturn doesn't just ask how you think or speak. He asks, can you hold the weight of your words with integrity? Those of you that have Saturn here in the third house, let me ask you this question. Did you learn early that your voice had consequences? Saturn in the third house often begins with silence. Maybe you grew up in a household where your thoughts weren't welcome, where interruptions were punished, or where the air felt heavy with unspoken truths. You learned quickly to think twice before speaking, or never speak at all. Sometimes displacement shows a child who watches everyone, learning the rhythm of language before daring to enter it. Or the opposite may happen, the child who over explains, desperate to be understood. Saturn here restricts speech not to punish you, but to refine you. Saturn is teaching discernment. It's teaching that words are sacred. The truth carries weight. This is the apprenticeship of communication. Every word you speak shapes the structure of your reality. That's what Saturn's teaching you. So Saturn will whisper to you and say, before you speak, build a foundation worthy of the sound. Now, also, let me ask you this. Have you ever replayed every word in your head, afraid that you said too much or too little? This is the shadow. In the shadow, Saturn in the third can twist the gift of language into fear. You may overthink every sentence, edit your emotions until they're sterile, or avoid speaking altogether to prevent conflict. This is where the mind becomes a critic and the voice a prisoner. You might find comfort in control, scripting every conversation in your head before it happens, or you withdraw, convinced that no one really listens anyway. The nervous system here becomes the gatekeeper. You know, that tight throat, your throat getting tight, your jaw locked, your breath shallow. Communication feels like walking on glass. But Saturn's shadow isn't here to condemn, it's here to reveal the cost of self silencing. Now, the real medicine begins when you understand that you don't owe clarity to everyone, only integrity to yourself. Now, what happens when Saturn comes back to test your voice, as in a Saturn return? The Saturn return happens around age 29, 58, or 87. And it is the universal exam of communication and mindset. It's when silence no longer protects you. What it starts doing is suffocating you. So, during your first return, you may be forced to speak truth where you once avoided it. You might begin writing, teaching, or claiming your voice publicly for the first time. Old fears of visibility dissolve through necessity, basically. By the second return, you're teaching what you once feared to say. You've learned that wisdom isn't the quantity of words, but it's their resonance. Now, then we have the third return. That's when your voice becomes legacy. That's when your truth echoes beyond you. Saturn grants mastery of mind and the ability to shape collective consciousness through steady, grounded truth. So let's talk a little bit about the evolutionary invitation. What if your voice was never a weapon, but a bridge? The invitation of Saturn in the third is to move from fear of expression into devotion to truth. You begin to see that words are architecture. They build or they break connection. This placement asks you to communicate with awareness, to think before you speak, to speak when it matters, and to let silence be sacred when it serves truth. When you integrate Saturn here, your voice becomes medicine. You no longer speak to impress or defend. You speak to align. This is the alchemy of the third house. Learning that communication is not performance, it's presence. You move from fearing misunderstandings to realizing that your clarity is enough. The right ones will always hear you. Now, how do you rebuild trust with your own voice? Let's do some tools or practices. Okay, I'm going to show you or I'm going to explain them to you. It is up to you to do your work. Everybody has free will. I can only help guide you. Okay, so each morning, I want you to hum softly, just your name or the sound that feels most like home. I know you have that. I know each one of you have that, whether it's just a sound, a hum, a noise, or your name. Okay. And I want you to let the vibration remind your nervous system that I exist and my voice belongs here. Okay. So that's one. Then we want to write one paragraph a day that no one else will ever read. This is just for you. This is where the truth relearns safety, where you're practicing saying what's in your head on paper and nobody ever has to read it. Okay? So one paragraph a day. Then the third is let's do some breath work. Okay? I want you to inhale slowly. And as you're inhaling, you can say, my truth belongs. And then as you exhale, you say, I release fear of misunderstanding. I want you to say that 3 or 4 times to yourself. And also, when you begin to get nervous or your nervous system is acting up, I want you to breathe in and say this, okay? And it'll help your nervous system feel and understand that it's safe, okay? Now, here's something to anchor with. Before any hard conversation, whether it's a speech you have to give, maybe you have to stand up in a crowd, maybe you got to stand up in your front of your family or your friends or just a conversation between you and someone else. Before any hard conversation, I want you to tell yourself, I speak with Saturn's steadiness, not the wound's urgency. Okay? I speak with Saturn's steadiness, not the wound's urgency. Now, These small acts repattern the body to trust your own expression again. Okay? So they may be very simple, but they're very profound in your body, in your mind, in the way that you're going to communicate. Okay? So, beautiful ones. Saturn in the third house is the journey from silence to sovereignty, where once you feared your own words, now you understand. They were never too much, only waiting for truth to strengthen their tone. That's it. Saturn does not silence you to punish you. He silences you to prepare you, to teach you that speech is sacred, that thoughts are seeds, and that mastery begins with listening to yourself. This is not about being heard by everyone. It's about hearing yourself clearly and letting your truth stand. Your voice is not fragile. It's forged. Speak from that place. Saturn will bless every word. If this message is resonating, beautiful ones, take a moment to subscribe and hit that hype button. It tells the algorithm and the universe that this message matters. Together, we're building a world where truth and wisdom walk hand in hand.